Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, and I am your host, Candi CWall checking in as I do all throughout the year and especially during the NFL season to give you the latest and greatest information on the Washington Commanders. This is a live Bowie television recording, everybody. And everything we say and do here, yes, you already know it, will absolutely be aired on Bowie TV. If you are in Bowie, Maryland, or surrounding areas, you can find this show on Verizon Channel 11 and Comcast Xfinity Channel 77. If you're watching the live version, you want to jump right on in. As always, I take questions. I'm sharing exclusive insights from the week leading up to the Washington Commanders dominating win over the Tennessee Titans. So if you're watching from YouTube, I sure hope you are subscribed and I hope you've hit the thumbs up and hit the bell as well so that you can get the notifications when we go live and post any of the new content. If you're watching from Facebook, go ahead and hit that love button and share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. It is absolutely a Victory Monday, so we want to bring all that Victory Monday energy. And while you're doing that, make sure you say hello to Mama Waller and Pops Waller because they're always watching. Okay, so I see that Stephen Askins has already popped on. I see that Cameron Mingo has popped on as well. I will always give you all opportunities to get on in the conversation, Commanders fans, because I know you have a lot to share. I always do. I have clips today from, of course, as always, Dan Quinn, Coach Kingsbury, Coach Witt, Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin. We're going to get into all of these conversations and more. You already know this. It always takes me some time to get into, just the housekeeping items. This is a very important thing that I have to do each time. And you all know I typically stay on for a bit. And who knows? I may still do that as well based on the conversation and the clips that you all will be watching and discussing. I see Eric Jessup has dropped on. You all probably have heard me in the pregame already, in the postgame with Fox Sports 1340 in the urban sports scene. So you heard me in pregame. You heard me post game. So when I do, I guess it's still post game, right? Because it's a day later. I am now kind of had an opportunity to rewatch the game, at least the television version, because the All 22 doesn't come out until later in the week. But I've had some opportunity to kind of get into it, get my thoughts together, and get into more of what we watched and what we saw. So if you're tuned in, thumbs up. On YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. Facebook viewers, make sure you hit that love button and share the show. I will always take as many questions as I possibly can, but I have to always ask you all this right here. What is your one word? What's your one word to describe how you were feeling after the Washington Commanders ended their losing streak? The losing streak has ended. They have now won 8 games this season. My season total prediction of 7 is officially wrong. Give it up. Listen. You'll never find anybody happier to be wrong about something like this. Let me just tell you. But drop in the chat your one word to describe. I see faces dropped on. He says consistency. Stephen Askin says he felt great. Cameron Mingo relieved. Eric Jessup relieved as well. Look, I think there was a lot of deep breaths. And while I get into all of the topics, right, because I try to cover in some weeks, you all know this, I try to cover and get into what led up to the week. right? Because I think it's a very important point, right? It's a kind of way to kind of understand the vibe of the team, where folks are, where the head is at, what's going on. 3 losses. I shared with you all last week that, some of the special teams members, Jeremy Reeves, Jordan McGee, they were not in good spaces, feeling really bad about that Cavante Turpin special teams touchdown, and just where are things? How are they doing? Where are things? So I want to start there and start with some of the questions that I had last week and what we learned last week leading up to this game. Let's go ahead and put it out there. The Commanders had to win this game. Right? I really think they had. I mean, I felt like they had to win the game last week. But they just had to, right? Did not want to see the team go into the bye on a losing streak. And more important than any one of us, the team didn't want to go into that either, right? They didn't want to go into that either. So I want to start with a storyline that you all have probably already heard so far, especially since the team's just dominating win. And while you all are listening to this clip, which I think is very important to kind of set the stage for how the week went last week and then bring you to the moment we're at right now, definitely drop in the chat some of your favorite moments from the game. I have to tell you all, after the first quarter, I was in a good space because I was like, well, this is the team I feel like I've been covering and now can get back to covering them with gladness. So it was cool. It was good to watch all the things that we've been saying and seeing. So let's go into this clip, which will then make much more sense to why I asked the question and just all the other things that you've heard so far after the win. Check out this question I had to Jayden Daniels last week.
Hey, Jayden, while you all are going through this adversity currently, how important is it for you all to have veterans like Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz on this team?
I mean, it's huge just to have guys that have been through stuff like that. Those 2 guys that you mentioned also won Super Bowl, so obviously throughout their career, everything's not going to be perfect. So it's ups and downs to football and stuff like that. So it's just lean on those guys, lean on each other, go out there and just play ball.
So you all have probably heard by now, love button, fire emoji, if it all makes sense to you, right? That you've heard about the conversation that Bobby Wagner had with the team. And the team shared that. Some team members shared that last week. I know I, for one, saw it in real time, not necessarily the conversation that he had with the team, but individual conversations and just how he handles himself in the face of adversity and kind of just being not just the leader that he is, but also showing accountability to the advice that he's giving by actually doing what he's sharing with the team needs to be done. And so that really is a tone setter. Throughout the years, we've always talked about who are the leaders in the room. Who are the people that can get this team going? When something is going wrong, where are the voices of reason? Who can they lean on? What needs to happen next? What can happen now? And I posted this and I reposted the question that I asked to Jayden about Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz because I wanted it to be very clear. The team is very fortunate to have them. Okay. It's so much from the staff to the players that were on the roster coming in, those that are new, that it has just gelled, right? And I think it's so important to share those moments because that was a bad stretch. And everybody saw in the game, first half, highlighting that's Commanders offense for the most part, weeks 1 through 7. That's what you know they can do. And this is where it now leads me to this next clip. And if you're just tuned in from the Coaching from the Couch series, this is the Washington Commanders update I am your host, Candi CWall Waller. I'm sharing exclusive insights from the team's blowout win against the Tennessee Titans, kind of leading up to the week so that you know, here's what I'm covering, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm tracking. Let's see what happens on Sunday. Now that we know what has happened on Sunday, let's talk about it. Let's have a discussion about it. Hit that love button if you're watching on Facebook. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up. If you're on YouTube, this is a live Bowie television recording. Verizon Channel 11, Comcast Xfinity Channel 77. And if you're on YouTube, you can see it all the time. So let's move on to the next question that I had last week. And this was to head coach Dan Quinn, because this is what I wasn't sure was happening. And I wanted to know, is this actually taking place still? Because this is what you told us. Now I got to dig in my own receipts now. I got to dig my own receipts and I got to take my notes. And I have to see, is this still transpiring? And while, again, you all, if you're new here, hopefully you'll learn me soon. And if you've been here for a while, you know how I am. I use my clues, so I share with you all to use your clues as well. I pull receipts because I need to remember what has already been said to make sure I'm seeing it in action. So I had the receipt and already saw in action about the leadership of Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz and many others, right? Because they definitely led the way. Dan Quinn was loud about it, as were some of the players as well, about what Bobby Wagner specifically did for the team last week and talking to them. So you all have that receipt. You know where that stemmed from. Let's go to one of the questions I had for Dan Quinn last week. Very important point, and I think we most certainly saw this in action in the team's win yesterday.
Hey, Coach. Early on, when you all came together as a staff, you talked a lot about a collaborative approach to decision making. So now that you all are into the season, can you share a few examples of what that looks like?
Trying to think where that would come across, because some of it right now might be, offensively or defensively or special teams related on it. It's probably the complementary football, Candi. I think that's one of the things that we spend a lot of time on, especially on Friday as the week's coming to an end, of how are we going to go win this moment, this game, to get a 4-minute stop, make them to punt, to go. And so that collaboration amongst the team is a big deal. And I love when you and I on the sideline see the kick happen, the energy that takes place going from offense to defense or vice versa. And so that's where I see this collaboration. We've all seen teams where each of the units might be a country unto themselves. And so the best of the best, you feel it just blending. And so that's one of the things that I like about this team, is that collaboration that they have together. They're willing to give information to each other across the ball. Like, you can tell they're truly down for the cause and one another. So that would be my best example.
Complimentary football, love button, fire emoji if you feel like you saw just that in this win. That was something that the team was just doing a masterful job of, and you saw it. It was missing a bit. That's why I had to ask, I know they said they do this. Where does it show? Okay, it shows in complimentary football, and that's one of the things that we can easily say, haven't seen that in a bit. See it in moments, but not as much as you would like. Absolutely saw that on full display. Definitely love button, fire emoji if you know that that's exactly what you saw. And you actually missed seeing it, actually, in the last few weeks, right? Next up question, and I'm rolling through these clips because I definitely want to get into the game, and that's where I'm going to spend some bit of the time, because I got to pull the receipts first. And love button or fire emoji if you've listened to the press conferences, so you can say, oh yes, I do remember when you asked that. Got you. Cool. Now I understand where you were going with that. Perfect. Now my question to Cliff Kingsbury, let's see if you all saw this transpire during the game on Sunday. Hey there, Coach. What are your thoughts on the overall production of the wide receiver group?
I think it continues to get better. Terry's a guy we have to get the ball to more, get more targets to throughout the game. There's no doubt about that. I've been really impressed with Noah since he's been here. I've mentioned that before. And then Diami, I'm really proud of him, the plays he's made. He's a very explosive player and has just continued to get better since we got here. Very serious approach, great work ethic, and just keeps making plays when he's called upon.
3 folks that Cliff mentioned getting the ball to Terry. Now, last week I talked a bit about this, and I even said, hey, I'm going to pull on a huge thread here and pull up a receipt and a clue where I say, are they overthinking this? And if you watched my pregame with Fox Sports 1340, you already know that I said, just use your assets. Use your assets. And then I said in last week's show, I definitely remember saying this. I said, you remember in the first play against Dallas, who did they get the ball to? Now, he didn't necessarily do much ultimately in the game, but my point remains. The first play, football goes to CeeDee Lamb. Get the ball to your assets. First play yesterday, ball to Terry McLaurin. That first offensive drive was exactly, and it wasn't on the same side. Shake it up a bit, okay? It's okay. All right? Get them there. Just use it. Use it until you force the defense in a position, in a way that they gotta that now they stop that. Okay, all right, fine. We're just gonna go and do something else. And you saw them do that in that first offensive series. Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, Brian Robinson Jr. We're going to definitely get on Brian Robinson Jr. because you all know how I am about Brian Robinson Jr. So we're going to get into Brian Robinson Jr. in a moment. But the overall production and that question about the wide receiver group and Cliff's mention of Dyami Brown, because if you all go back way in the crates of the receipts, when I asked Coach Quinn a few weeks back about are there some plays that have not made SportsCenter or the highlights, but you were like, wow, that was great. Can't believe we pulled it off. And one of the plays was credit to Dyami Brown. And he made sure he mentioned that Dyami's name has been mentioned from the coaching staff throughout this time. Right? And you saw him get involved a bit as well. So all of these things are tying in together of why I'm asking this, because I want to see it. Right? So I'm trying to understand why I'm not seeing it. Maybe it was something else going on the film that I wasn't catching. Now let's say this, and I'm gonna go back to the point of you got to act accordingly. Don't sleep on records. Because the Titans defense is pretty daggone good. They really are in ranking and in rating. They really, truly are, right? The record doesn't reflect that. But hey, listen, they beat the Texans last week. Week 12 was an odd week. It was a lot of, underdog teams winning in week 12. But just to use the assets, you all know now, I don't call them weapons anymore. I call them assets because I just feel like that's a more positive word to use. So in utilizing those assets, Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson Jr., and the overall asset of the run game, because then guess what happens? Once, on to B-Rob a little bit. Let's give B-Rob a break. You can utilize Jeremy McNichols. I've been asking for Jeremy McNichols for a few weeks now. You all know this. Love button or fire emoji. If you distinctly remember me saying, I want to see more of Jeremy McNichols. I want to see more of Dyami Brown. I would still like to see more of Luke McCaffrey. That didn't necessarily happen in the way that I thought it would. But hey, 2 out of 3 is great because guess what else happened? The run game, Chris Rodriguez Jr., we're going to get to that as well. So still, asset, run game, Terry McLaurin, spreading the ball around, moving folks around, using that creativity that I was so high on all during camp that I was sharing with you all. Please do not make me look like I am crazy and I do not know what I'm watching. I am looking forward to that creativity. And you saw it. We saw it at the top of the season. You saw it again. It is a very important point, especially now when the narrative is out there on several different things, right? Many narratives pretty much, down in the tubes now, right? Film is out. do something different. They absolutely did. You saw some different things. But it's like, don't outsmart yourself. Just do what works. Now, with that being said, and I'm going to check the sound on this one, because if the audio isn't the best, I may actually not even play this one, because I think the audio was not that great. It was my question to Joe Witt Jr. On Thanksgiving about the defense and the notion of, him mentioning, against the Eagles, they played excellent for 53 minutes. It was those final moments that didn't go well. And just how do you get them to play 60 minutes of football? And you all know my thought process on that, right? Part of the way to get them playing 60 minutes of football is offense, win the time of possession battle. When the defense gets you the ball back, maximize the opportunity by getting the ball down the field and into the red zone for a touchdown, which you saw the team do that. Mikey Sainristil forcing a fumble, recovering it himself, the offense getting the ball back and scoring a touchdown. The collaborative approach to decision making equals complementary football. The team has talked about the takeaways over time. Saw a bit of that as well. Getting creative, moving folks around, using your assets, the run game, Terry McLaurin, and getting everybody else involved. You saw Zach Ertz too. You get the tight ends involved as well. So I think we're seeing a lot of what we've been talking about, which I think are all very important points. Very much important points. Let me move now, because I would play, but I think the audio is a bit crazy, so I won't go into that. Here's one more I want to share. Receipt from last week. Question I had to Coach Quinn. I think this is the right clip. I might be pulling the wrong one. If I do, my bad. But I'm pretty sure it's still a good clip, so I'll probably let it run. But at any rate, check this out. I believe this is the one where I asked Coach Quinn about tackling margin. If I'm wrong, again, my bad.
Hey there. At the top of the season, you shared with us 5 categories. I think it was after week 1, on which you kind of share on Tell the Truth Monday. It was around, tackling margin, all those. So how do you think the team is doing around tackling margin?
Yeah, we've it's been closer than we've liked in the last few weeks, meaning 10, 8, 10, with the other team. And so that's what we want to make sure we do. I would say ours is a little higher in some spots, and I think that's probably because we cover more, Candi, on the kicks, if that makes sense, where we kick it short or kick it into the end zone, because they're both. But at the end of it, it's the space tackles. That's the ones that you can't make sure, because those end up being longer ones. So the tracking and the leverage. So over the last 2 weeks, we were able to work on that more, and so that was good. That's something that fundamental-wise we need it big. And so I'd say we started lower, picked up, and like most things, a little dip, and I think we're about to come up on the other end. So I think we were here, we went up, dipped again, and now I think it can take off again. I like the intent of where we're at. I thought if there was a shot on tackling, Jeremy Chin had a really good one. And it was tough, and it was physical, and he used his shoulder. He didn't lead with his head. He hit him in the strike zone where he didn't hit the player in the head. And it's a great message to me, Candi, that you can play really tough football, and we can also do it safely. And for anybody who would watch that game, that was one hell of a hit. And it was one that we thought was a fumble. It wasn't, but it was a tough hit using the shoulder, put his head to the side. The player didn't get, and I thought, that is it. That's what we're teaching. And that's what I want that to be the example. That you don't get much tougher than that tackle, and it was done safely and tough, and that's what I want us to be about. Never to put our team or the other guys in jeopardy, but doing it tough.
And after watching the film, your overall thoughts on what the Tennessee Titans do very well?
So we can go ahead and skip what the Tennessee Titans do very well because they beat them. But I want to make sure it is highlighted. I see someone called on to it, tackling in space, clue, right? And I see others are joining in. Make sure that you all are sharing this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. If you're on Facebook, make sure you hit the love button and share the show if you're watching from YouTube. Thumbs up. I hope you're subscribed. Please do. I am Candi CWall Waller, sharing all the exclusive insights with you all. I will take some questions because we're going into the bye, you all. And I almost said bye. I almost ghosted you all and said, just see you later. But no, I would never do that because this is good. This is good. So ask the tackling margin question because you all have probably heard me ask questions around starting field position and turnover ratio and all of those things. And so it's important for me to say, you know what? I've seen some different things with the tackling. Absolutely correct. It was almost music to my ears that when Coach Quinn brought up Jeremy Chinn's tackle in the Dallas game, because not only was it tough and just like, oh, it was actually safe. And so it was music to my ears when he brought that one up, because I was just like, ooh. And even when I went back and watched the film, I was like, good grief. Wow. Technique and just overall toughness. And we all know that that is a player that the team has consistently mentioned that plays the brand of football that they want to see. So it all kind of aligns to what are we watching? What are we seeing? Is it all coming together? And you're hearing the answers to the questions so that when you see it come together, you can say, yes, this is what they talked about in the press conference. This is what was said. This is it. It all makes sense. So with that being said, let's just move. Now we can move. Now that we've pulled enough receipts, and I'm pretty sure I have more to pull, honestly. Because when do I not have a receipt and a clue for us to use? Okay, I always do. So let's move into the game and after game press conferences. A lot of bravos from me. Bravo. Very good. That's nice. I'm glad I saw that. That is very good. Very, very good. Very impressive. I've enjoyed that. And they certainly played like a team with their hair on fire. They certainly played like a team that did not want to go on a 4-game losing streak, bye or no bye. They absolutely did not want to lose that football game. They came out with a sense of urgency. There's no need to get hot late when you have to make a play and like your life is dependent on it. It's no need to do that. Just come out the gate doing what you do, right? I don't see, and you all know on Boy TV, we also covered the Baltimore Ravens. So word to Karita Progress, you don't see sometimes the Ravens waiting to give the ball to Derrick Henry. Just give it to him. There he is right there. Here you go. Do your thing. It's almost that simple. And you do it until someone makes you stop. And then you move on to your other assets. But to be able to get Terry McLaurin and Brian Robinson Jr., I'm going to get to B-Rob in a moment, and Terry, because I have some Terry McLaurin clips as well, to be able to use them so early in the game, to be able to use that creativity rooted in the collaborative approach to decision making, to be able to see that offensive line be back. Now, there were certainly some unnecessary penalties. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. I think I do have a clip about that, but there were certainly some unnecessary penalties out there as well. But, I have to be objective. I have to give critiques where need be, but we're not going to poo-poo the fact that was domineering win. Now, the team has signed Zane Gonzalez, kicker Zane Gonzalez. And yes, I do know, and I do remember that Zane missed 2 field goals. And good that the Commanders did not need those 6 points to win the football game. But oh, how much more impressive would it have been if they scored 48 versus 42. Now, that can be the slightly petty side of myself. But I do think it is an important point that he missed 2 field goals. I know that Coach Quinn assured us today he has a lot of faith in Zane. I mean, they signed him, so we would assume so. But that was 6 points. Luckily, they didn't need it. Hopefully, the team won't be in a situation where they will need those 6 points ever again, because he'll make them in the future. Let's get on into the clips. As we're listening and watching to each clip, please put in the chat any questions that you have for me, because I'm going to answer questions. I'm happy to give my thoughts. So go ahead and let it go. Let it fly. You have me. See, when you're able to chit chat with somebody that's on site, you want to definitely leverage the opportunity to ask questions. And what I can answer, you all know. If you've been here before, you all know if I can answer it, I absolutely will. And if I can't, I'll tell you that. So you all know I try to pride what we do at Bowie TV and class, with authenticity and transparency as well. So as you all watch these clips with me, react to what you're hearing in the clips, ask any questions that you have. I'm always happy to be here for you all in discussing all of the great things that we saw this team do. And you know what was so special about it? You saw the team do it and it felt right and it felt good, because you know that is absolutely what they are capable of. That's what they're capable of. So that's a good thing. All right, on to some of the clips.
What happened with Mathis today?
We elevated Carl, and so just in the spirit of competition. So Carl Davis been working at it hard, and so they've kind of been battling, as we're going through for practice reps and where we're going. So it was just honestly just for me a coaching decision just to give Carl a shot, big square inside, and with Tony and the line coach and Bill and everybody else here, I know they know how to run the ball, and so we thought we'd give Carl a good go at that. He's been working at it hard, so we've had this competition really going internally on, and so that nothing more than that.
Use your clues. Where are we? Hold on. Use your clues. And let me go find this, because I think this is a very, very, very important point, everybody. And make sure you have your notebook and your pen, because I don't think you want to miss this. Okay. And it is the very simple point that Jayden Davis and Emanuel Forbes were once healthy scratches as well. Okay. So defensive tackle for Darian Mathis was a healthy scratch for the Commanders. Sheldon Day has played very well and was actually one of the captains for the team yesterday. Coach just mentioned in that clip that they brought up Carl Davis, and it was just a coaching decision. Like to see what Carl is doing in practice and what he's bringing. So I do think that it is an important point. Don't miss it. That Darian Mathis was a healthy scratch. Okay. All right. Let's move into the next clips. And hey, some of these clips are not in order. So, because we didn't get a chance to do that, but it's okay, because we already know what the show is about, and that's all right. So any questions you have, trust me, I will absolutely acknowledge them and try to answer as many as I possibly can. But please make sure you use your clues on that one and stick that one in your notebook, because it's important. On to the next clip.
My colleagues asked you a lot of the game questions I wasn't asked. So you guys made a move yesterday with Emanuel Forbes. What was the decision ultimately behind to release him?
Yeah, Marshawn's close. We talked about that. I think it was Friday. For him being back in it, and so when we made the decision to release him, really just the best opportunity for the team at this point. And I had a chance to visit with him, and I explained to him sometimes that the change of scenery is good, and I've seen other players go to other clubs and it turns out differently, and sometimes that's a good thing. And I said that can happen with you too. And so I wanted to make sure he heard that from me. And there was even guys on his own team here that had started somewhere else as a first round player, and all of a sudden a different scenery and different shift with the new system can help. And so we wanted to wish him best on his football journey, wherever that goes from here.
And We posted this earlier on Bowie TV Sports on X and on Instagram, and I reposted it there that Emanuel Forbes Jr. has already found a new home. He was picked up by the LA Rams. So we want to give love button, fire emoji, wish him well, right? Wish him well. And, Cameron Curl is there. Should be able to see some familiar faces. And that's just how the business rolls. So best wishes to him. All the best of luck in LA with the Rams. I think that's fantastic. I think that is a fantastic landing spot for him. So terrific news. So great that he got picked up on the waiver wire. I think that's awesome. So I see a question about looking for a new kicker. I've seen a couple of questions that come through about looking for a new kicker. Here's the thing. They signed Zane Gonzalez today, everybody. He signed, right? Now, will they put a kicker on the practice squad? Maybe. That would be good, right? That would be a smart thing to do. But hey, what did we know? What did we notice? And what have we learned? They didn't need it yesterday. That I think, and I also would like to say that is a very important point. It is a very important point because, as Steven said, when they signed Zane, they brought in another one as well. So we'll see if they need to use another one. But the key is being in offensive situations that you don't need the kicker for the big kicks, right? But it happens because that's just the league. Right, many games are decided by a field goal or an extra point. That is just how it is. So luckily, the Commanders did not need those 6 points. But hey, just know, when has Adam Peters not shown that they've had another opportunity? So just be glad they didn't need a kick. That's how I look at that, right? That's just how I mean, seriously. I don't even think it's just everyone be glad that they did not need the kick and that they were able to show their the offensive prowess and what they can do. It's amazing. You can kick the extra point. Okay, good. But anything over 40 yards wasn't going well yesterday. Not at all. So best wishes to Emanuel Forbes. Let's move on now to the next clip.
Take 3 more. Yeah, I know you got to look at the film, but just generally, it looked like the offensive line was creating some real cutback lanes and gave your back some real opportunities today. I just wonder what you saw from them, specifically from Lucas at right tackle and some of the other guys.
I felt that way too, David. Looking back, I talked to Anthony after the game, he was the first one to say, I really thought the line, played well. And I sensed some of that on Wednesday at practice. There was a little more covering downfield. There was a little more pad level. And they really put in the extra in that time. I saw with Lucas playing over on the right side, wanting to get extra with Cosme before practice, after practice, on the combination blocks. Those are the things sometimes as a coach that what do you see and what do you hear? What I saw was, one player asking to the next one, let's go through that again. Let's get the extra work because Lucas had primarily played on the left. And so he'd worked sparingly on the right, but this week we gave him more onto that side. I thought that's a guy that was ready for the challenge. Obviously he's played it some in his career, but not as much this year. And so that was a big deal for us to get the extra work in with those guys.
Love button, fire emoji if you are enjoying the content here. This is from the Couch series, the Washington Commanders update, where I am sharing all exclusive insights leading up to the Commanders win against the Tennessee Titans and everything after, with the team heading into the bye week. Go ahead and drop in the chat. We've already had a conversation around some of the topics and questions I had from last week. Now we're getting into the actual game and some of the reflection moments and points and just things that happened, things that went well. We've also talked about some things that was a little shaky, like glad that wasn't a factor in this particular game, but you might still want to write it in your notebook if it comes up again, because hey, you don't want it to come up again, but you never know. definitely drop in the chat if you have any other questions for me. I want to stop and acknowledge this comment here about Anthony Lynn. Love button, fire emoji. If you remember me going on a whole conversation about Anthony Lynn, and I asked Coach Quinn and Coach Kingsbury. Well, I asked Coach Kingsbury about the running back room a couple of weeks ago, and he brought up Coach Lynn. And when he brought it up, I then asked Coach Quinn about Coach Lynn, and he has changed the dynamic. Some people forget, and I shared with you all a couple of weeks ago, and I think it may have even been about the collaborative approach to decision making. Go and read the resumes. Go and take a look of who is on this coaching staff. Anthony Lynn has been phenomenal, and you see that he has been phenomenal because the production of the running back room has not gone down when they are utilized. Just because the run game isn't utilized does not mean the running backs, overall, the production may go down because they're not being utilized, but that is not a talent challenge. Okay? When the run game is used, you all have seen how these guys perform. And that was one of the groups. I told you all, one of the groups that I was like, OMG about. It was two groups. It was the linebackers on defense, and it was the running backs on offense. I was like, whoa, whoa, and whoa. I can't wait for this. Okay? And it has proven itself correct. And I'm happy about that. Anthony Lynn, all the credit in the world. Love button, fire emoji if you're with me on this one, because it is a very important point. This coaching staff, you need to pay attention to the coach and what's happening and how they're responding, right, in the face of adversity, because how the players respond absolutely matters, but how the coaching staff responds absolutely matters as well. And Coach Lynn has been phenomenal. And I am just really digging it. Really, really digging it. I'm seeing comments as well about the offensive line. And that was what the great David Aldridge was asking Coach Quinn about in that last clip, the offensive line. Tremendous job by the offensive line. We've seen the offensive line be pretty beat up as well. Right tackle Andrew Wiley out dealing with the concussion. And so that's where that conversation went around Cornelius Lucas and him, being in that spot and what they saw. And while some weeks they did get worked, because this is the NFL, everybody, and everybody across the scrimmage line gets paid as well, but they were ready for the challenge of taking on a very stout Titans defense. I saw someone put it in the chat. Yes, that is a top 5 defense. Absolutely. Don't let the record fool you. That Titans defense, it was worthy to be prepared for real. So they did it. They got those plays off, and you saw some tremendous blocking by tight ends. You even saw Brian Robinson Jr. get involved with some of those blocks as well, to make sure these plays get off successfully. It was great to see it all come together, and everyone from the staff to the players play with that sense of urgency that this game must be won. It must be won. And they made it happen. They did what they were supposed to do. And so I just will continue to highlight those things because they're so important, right? Coach Lynn, what he is doing with the running backs, what Coach Bobby Johnson is doing with the offensive line, right? I remember many Giants fans were like, oh, he got fired from here and he's not going to do well. Well, guess what? The majority of the coaches on this team have been fired. I mean, it's just, they've been fired before. I mean, that's just the unfortunate point of the industry, right? But if you get in the right space with like-minded individuals that are on the same page, going back to the point of the question I had to Dan Quinn about the collaborative approach to decision making, you have the players and the staff that are bought in to the culture and the brand of football that you want to play. I think that makes all of the difference. I think it makes all of the difference all of the time. So I want to make sure I mention that to you all because, again, super important points, and it means something and it matters. I mean, when you really take a look, and if we take a moment to really just hone in on the Frankie Louvous, the Brian Robinson Jr.'s, the Mikey Sainristills, the Jeremy McNichols, I'm naming it Terry McLaurin, everybody, right? The Zach Ertz, the John Bates. When we talk about toughness and grit, they show a whole lot of that on a regular basis. Now, with that being said, when the crowd, was anybody that's watching at the game? Because there were two players that whenever they did anything on the field, whole crowd just started saying their name. It was Frankie Louvou, and it was this guy right here, Terry McLaurin.
Hey, Terry, how important is it for you to be involved early and also for the offense to get you involved early?
Yeah, I mean, I know going into this week, talking to DQ and Cliff, they wanted to try to get me going a little bit earlier and give me opportunities to make plays. And, that's all I asked for. My teammates look to me each and every week in practice as well to make a play to get us going. And the other receivers in my room as well do a great job of just encouraging me and pushing me to be the person that they know I'm capable of being. And so I just try to stay patient, you know what I mean? I know it's not all about me at all, but I feel like I try to bring a certain attitude and feel to our team in this offense that you feel it when I make a play. And I don't do that by myself. It takes the O-line, who I feel like did a great job. On that first touchdown I had, that was a long developing play, but Jayden was clean and gave me a chance to make a play on the ball. So, I felt like they came out playing soft coverage, and we took what they gave us. And I think that was a great improvement from last week, and receivers did a great job catching and knifing. So, hopefully we could definitely keep that going. I just want to be in any position I can to help us win the game. And I got to shout out the crowd because, they give me energy when I hear them chant my name and chanting for our team. I wouldn't rather play with anywhere else. So I'm extremely grateful and just excited that I got to get going early, get in the field of the game, and try to make plays for us.
First play of the game, Terry McLaurin. What I say last week, I said, hey, listen, all I'm saying is Dallas first play of the game, CeeDee Lamb. Give it to your assets. Give it to your playmakers. Why not? Why not? It works. I've made a comment on this show several times where it's like, hey, you don't want to make Terry McLaurin mad, right? I've made that comment. I've made, this is when they're playing, right? And I've also made the comment of everybody's happy when Terry McLaurin is happy. Seriously, it is a very good thing when Terry McLaurin is happy. He's very happy, and that's good. That's a great sign. And that's exactly what, when you say attitude is a clue, crowd motivation is a clue. We have somebody who's commenting in the chat, Terry. That's, it doesn't even matter what he does. But you know what he is going to do? Make a play. And I made a post. I did. And if you all aren't following me on X, this is where you can follow me at CWall SE. But, and I hope you're subscribed to the channel because you're going to see my stuff either way. But I made a comment and I said, Terry McLaurin is sick of everybody. You want to know how I know? Because look at how he's playing. This is just phenomenal. Hey, bravo. Very good. Very, very good. Thank you, Cliff. And thank you, collaborative approach to decision-making staff, because what did you also hear as a clue? He said when DQ and Cliff came to talk to him. And Coach talked a little bit about that today in his press conference as well, right? How they've been talking across the hall right? Cross the hall means collaborative approach to decision making. Okay. What do we need to do to win? What do we need to do this week? What do we got to watch out for? Because hey, if I wanted to go back and pull the receipt, this would be kind of petty though. If I did pull this receipt, it would go back to when I asked Coach Quinn about what are some things that the Tennessee Titans do very well, and they do a lot very well. But he mentioned Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard, which you didn't hear a whole lot about. I mean, other than when Mikey forced that fumble on Tony Pollard and recovered it. Yeah, I heard that. But I'm just saying they had answers this week for playmakers. They had answers, right? So you didn't hear a lot about that. But everyone wants to talk about the low targets that Terry has, and that is an important point. But let's be clear now. In receiving yards, in many other things, Terry McLaurin is having the best season he's had as a Washington Commander this season. As low as his targets are. And now if you want to use your clues to piece that together, he's not even getting the ball that much. However, this season is looking like, if not the best, it's definitely certainly one of them. Because from a receiving yards perspective, look at what he's doing. Not even with that many targets. That is a very important point. If you take in all the data points, and what does that mean? Good grief. Okay? Quite impressive, if you ask me. But it's also a testament to as critical as those that may have been of the offensive calls and what's going on and the utilization of the assets and the playmakers. He's having a very good season. As is not even being utilized accordingly. That's something else. I really had to gasp. Like, whoa. So that is a great, I mean, he doesn't even have that many targets. Yeah, but look at how many receiving yards he's had. So yeah, he is definitely top tier, if you know what I'm saying. And he's got the juice right now. You know, you got to hold on to people when they got the glow. Anybody ever seen the movie The Last Dragon? It is a very old movie, but if you've ever seen The Last Dragon, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's a very cool movie. Okay, if you've never seen it, I don't care how old you are. If you've never seen The Last Dragon, you got to watch The Last Dragon. All right, because Terry McLaurin got the glow. That's what's happening right now. Terry has the glow, and you can tell. It's like swag, but like Bruce Leroy swag. So it's the glow for sure. He that dude right now. So, and everybody knows it. Which is going to go on to this next topic for sure. And it's still Terry McLaurin, but I want you all to listen to his response to this question.
Terry, 9 touchdowns on the season so far for you. First time since Santana Moss.
Wow.
You've done that for this franchise. Nobody's done it since 1991 to get 10, maybe in your next game. But
yeah.
Just personally, the relationship you have with Jayden and the fact that you're doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah, you know, I'm extremely humbled and blessed to be able to be in this situation to play for this franchise with so many great receivers that came through here, and to just have a small, be a part of that elite group, I don't take for granted. And you know, to get to play with a great player like Jayden, it's been a joy, honestly. I've had a lot of fun this season growing and learning from him and helping him any way I can. And you know, with him, he's going to give you opportunity to make a play on the ball. He's extremely accurate, and you know, he plays with a lot of confidence, and I think that rubs off on all of us. So it's exciting because I feel like him and I can still have a lot of room to grow. But it's not just me; it's, you know, the tight ends, the running backs, the other receivers. He does just a great job of giving us opportunities to make plays, and we just did a better job this week coming through for him. You know what I mean? And that's what's going to take. Every throw or play may not be as clean as we want, but if we could come out on the other side making those tough plays and continue to allow him just to be comfortable and throw the ball around the yard, we're going to have success. So I'm having a lot of fun, playing with this group. The adversity, I feel like it's tough, but, we needed that. We needed to come out on the other side and show what we're about. That's what character, that's what brotherhood is about. You know what I mean? It's easy when things are going great, but when you lose a few, you know what I mean, and you have to get a win, I think we showed that today. So, I just thank God to be in this position, to be trusted as one of the leaders on this team, and all I want to do is just help us win in any way, shape, or form.
I absolutely kept this comment on the screen because if you're using your clues, you caught that. He said it's been a joy. He said it's been a joy. Write it down. All right, write it down. After the Tennessee Titans game, write all the things down. Write the date, December the 1st, 2024, after the Tennessee Titans game. Wide receiver Terry McLaurin said that it's been a joy. I'm serious. I'm not even joking. I'm being very serious. Write it down. Use your clues. That if you know what joy is, if you know what it is, like you've actually experienced joy until you hear somebody say this has been a joy, that is a very important point. That is a very, very, very important point. I'm going to move on to these two other clips here. I want to make sure I acknowledge Brian Robinson Jr. I always get on a Brian Robinson. This is every season. I probably get on a Brian Robinson Jr. soapbox. I do. And it's because of many things. When Brian Robinson Jr. was drafted here, and I, after I did my draft show, I did my, who's my favorite, who's the steal of the draft. And in that particular draft, I said it's Brian Robinson Jr. Right? I said all the reasons why, Brian Robinson Jr. Was a steal of the draft that year for the team. And so I definitely even saw and sensed a lot of ridicule that B-Rob was getting when he wasn't playing. And again, when you talk about and look at the culture of this team, even like the special teamers, I mean, Jeremy Reeves, shout out to Tyler Owens for his first career forced fumble on special teams, a special teams play. Got to it, right? And you look at there's a multitude of players now on this team where you can say these people are, out there on that football field, it's not a joke with them. It's not just one or two anymore. It's multiple people. Brian Robinson Jr. is one of those people. And you heard me say after the Eagles game, I looked out there and I said, oh my gosh, is B-Rob breaking down the huddle? Is he giving the pregame speech on the field? Whoa. Hey now. Okay. Wow. Dog. A straight dog. I mean, this man, when you really piece it all together, sometimes I say, and I think I said this on a post game last night on Urban Sports Scene, I said, did everybody forget that Brian Robinson Jr. got shot? Because sometimes people get convenient amnesia. Sometimes people forget what happens, right? You just only concerned about today and what you did today and how you playing today, or what you doing for my fantasy football team today, or whatever the case may be. But the man got shot. And even in this season right here, he has experienced a knee injury, a hamstring injury. Luckily, none of them were, scary, crazy. But, knee, hamstring, ankle. And y'all see what he did in that game yesterday? He needed to be brought up. So if anybody ever questions his competitive nature and what he does and what he brings to the team, they should not. Okay? They just should not. Also, shout out, we have to do this. Y'all mentioned him earlier. Chris Rodriguez Jr., the whole entire running back room, right? Even Jeremy McNichols, they have been just extremely consistent. They all have. When you really think about it, there hasn't been a major dip in production unless someone's not being utilized, or a position group isn't being utilized for whatever reason. But I don't have the clip loaded for today, but if you go back and listen to Dan Quinn's press conference for today, when they had to do some things to the roster last weekend and then had to release C-Rod, he said, Chris made it very clear, I want to be here. And they made it clear to him, we want you here. So he's here. And I've had many conversations with folks. He is one of the players that I've had conversations with folks, his teammates and others in the organization, where he's got a story and the growth and just the overall evolution. He is it. He is it. And it doesn't have to be, you all. It doesn't have to be this thing where, this running back is better than that running back. It doesn't have to be the age-old, competition amongst the team, or when fans are trying to put, this one is better than that one and that one is better. Listen, be happy. You got some daggone good ones on this one, for real. And it doesn't matter who you put in there. They're going to produce. If they are used effectively, they will produce. And they have shown that through these 13 weeks. Now, that position group right there, not a dip. When they are used, they work. They work. They getting down the field, for sure. And I said it early on, right? It doesn't have to be it. Yes, Brian Robinson Jr., please, all day if possible. But you have to absolutely understand and know whether it is Jeremy McNichols, because he's had his moment too. And he showed off too. Let's not forget now. I'm a person, I keep receipts. So I know exactly who is showing up when their name is called. And every single last one of them do that. So don't put them in I like this one more, I like that one more. They all dope. And they all have proven that they can be relied on to get the job done. That is very, very important. Very important. And I don't want anyone to lose sight of that. And I think it's easy to lose sight of it because I know in the last 7 years of covering the team on site, I have not seen it in this way from a depth perspective. I mean, when B-Rob is out, do they miss him? You bet. Yes, for sure. But they also don't use the run game as effectively when he's out for whatever reason either, right? And there's been other times where, hey, you just step right in. Continued best wishes and well wishes to Austin Eckler. We want to ensure that he's healing and doing what he needs to do while he's on IR. But they've all had their moment. And I don't think there's been a time where I've been on site where I've seen almost in every position group, they're moving things around and you're still getting a pretty consistent and high level of production. We know there might be one or two, but it hasn't been. I mean, look, 8 games with 4 more games to go. This team, in year 1 of a recalibration, has already doubled the win total from last year. So we're going to get to me being wrong in a minute. I got 2 more clips. We're going to get to me being wrong in a minute because this is the happiest you'll probably ever see me being wrong about anything in life. Honestly, not that I'm always right, but I'm happy to acknowledge when I'm wrong, especially when I am wrong and it is within the benefit of everybody else. I'm serious. It's a very good thing that I was wrong about that. Very good thing. Let's get into these two clips. One is of quarterback Jayden Daniels. The other is my question to Dan Quinn today. So let's get into this clip of Jayden's presser right now.
Hey, Jayden, hi. Bobby Wetner talked about just getting back to having fun. Could you talk a little bit about that and what you saw out there from this team overall today?
Yeah, I just think energy is contagious, and good energy, obviously, that's what we want. When guys are having fun, you see when we're making plays, you see the defense and special teams getting up and congratulating us for scoring the touchdown. When Mikey had that fumble strip and recovery, you know, we're over there celebrating him. Everybody's hyped. So that's just the contagious energy that we want each and every week.
Listen, it was so many times I looked over, you know, and I got my binoculars in the press box, so I'm looking over. And I'm like, they are having the most fun. And you know what, Sean Covington, if I had an award to give you, I would absolutely give you an award to say you catching all the clues tonight. High five to Sean Covington, everybody. For seriously, you're catching everything. But they were just so happy. And let me also say this. While they were also so happy, we went on, and you all will see this on Bowie TV. It'll be on the channel as well as the YouTube. Commanders Media had the opportunity to go and take a tour of the stadium, and it was the player, like the health and safety tour. So when a player gets injured, here's all of the steps that they take. You know, we saw, you know, we went inside the blue tent, we were in the x-ray room, we saw all of the we were able to put the headphones on to really understand the conversations that are had. We looked at the injury video review booth. We did all of the things to really understand, okay, what is the process when a player gets injured, like all of the things, and what goes into preparing for game day, which is extensive. That is another show. You all will see it uploaded. I cannot wait for you to watch it because it has a lot of important detail in there that goes into game day preparation that I think is very, very important. But with that, we were able to all be on the field for pregame. And years back, we all could be on the field for pregame. Now, only certain media can get on, you know, those that are doing television hits live from the stadium are able to do their hits and shows on the ground in pregame. But so going out on the field in pregame, I'm gonna tell you now, the team is pretty much focused. They're always focused, right? But it was just different. And I was looking at certain players, you know, I'm supposed to be paying attention. So I was paying attention to the tour. Let me be clear on that. But while I was walking, I was like, they look different. And I could just tell they were like, we can't lose this football game. And during the game, every single thing that happened that was good, there was not a person louder than they were for one another. Fans loud, crowd motivation, all the things. But guess what? Guess who was out there just hollering and screaming and doing all the things? Their teammates. They were hot. They were ready. Big hits, you know, takeaways. They were just definitely all the things for sure. And it was one of those touchdowns. Maybe it was that Terry touchdown. I don't know. But I know that Cliff Kingsbury had himself a time going down that whole sideline, giving everybody a high five. And I said, look at Cliff. Look at Cliff. Look at Cliff. Look at Cliff, y'all. He's just high-fiving everybody down the sideline. Look at it. Very good things. Very, very good things. I do want to show you all this clip because I think this one is a very important point. But the point of fun and them doing what they love. I've seen people complaining about Jayden smiling. Jayden loves football, everybody. If you get the opportunity to do what you love, absolutely love, take a look at me. When you do what you absolutely love every single day, why wouldn't you be smiling? Now, like he did say in his presser, losing sucks. Now, losing sucks and covering losing absolutely sucks. I would agree with him. But like, hey, when it's good, yay. So here's the last clip. I don't know if you all saw this on the TV version, but the 2 minute warning, the 2 minute drill did not go as the team planned, and it was certainly not going as Dan Quinn would have planned. So I did kind of ask him about it. I just went ahead and asked him because we only had time for the rest of us to ask questions. We only could get one in. So I did want to ask him what specifically about that, what I can assume what was going on based on what was happening, but I wanted to see what he could share in terms of what was happening in that moment. And the team was up like 28-0 at that time, but it was so interesting to me that he was really frustrated that 2 minute was not going according to plan. So I asked him about it today. Hey, Coach. I was actually going to ask you about what you mentioned a moment ago about how you all started the 2 minute. Can you share a little bit about what did not go so well with that one that you didn't like?
With such a small condensed amount of time, Candi, on that one, you really have to take like 2 shots. We had our timeout, so we would take 2 deep shots. If you can, bang a timeout, take another one, see if we can get, into field goal range for Zane and the guys. When you check it down early, then you're almost saying, okay, we're out of this. That's why I didn't continue with it going with, one that was checked down to Luke. And then it got into a time spot where no longer worth the risk. And so that's why I decided to do that. It was a hard one to get going anyway, but if they had given us a specific look that we could go take a shot, we thought it was worth it.
When I went back and looked at the TV version, Dan Quinn was not happy. So I had to kind of laugh. I was like, look at Coach over there mad, because we don't really see him upset. But I'm like, here it is, 28-0, with 2 minutes left in the first half, and he is upset. He's not a happy person. But very good. Very, very good. Good. What would Dan Campbell do in the Detroit Lions? He would probably be upset too. So I understand. Totally understand that. You all have asked me questions. I will be around, you all. There's no practice. Players are off. We'll see what happens to get back next week. Next media availability, and drop any questions in the chat before I go, because I'm getting ready to sign off. It's next Monday with Dan Quinn, and then it's back to the practice schedule. And then up next are the New Orleans Saints. So I will do a show next week, and hopefully you all are all subscribed to Bowie TV or following me on my Facebook so you get those notifications. I hope you're following me on X as well so you can get my updates as they come in. So you all, hey, listen, it is 8 wins. 8 wins. Love button, fire emoji, Commanders fans. If you are pleased with 8 wins so far this season, 8 wins with 4 more to go, which if you're just using just numbers, that means there's a potential for this team to win 12 games this season. Now, hey, Coach has been clear, say, hey, when we get back, I'm just dealing with 1 game at a time. So he's basically giving us the head up. Don't be asking me a whole bunch of questions about playoffs and who we going to play and what we're doing. I do want to answer that. Do you think that Cliff is still running? No, I don't. Do you think that Cliff Kingsbury is still running a basic playbook? No, and I didn't think he ever was. I'm just going to be honest. One of the things that I said back during OTAs and training camp was that I was looking forward to the creativity that this staff was going to bring. I know that some of the plays have been creative, and some of the plays are not Cliff's. Some of the players come up with things. I know that Coach Blowout and Coach DeVita come up with things. It is not just him. It's not. Is he an ultimate decision maker? Absolutely, of course, yes. But we've also heard stories get told of, going back to the Bengals game, and I mentioned this last week, where Terry told it, so it was okay. It's public news now. He told it, that him and Jayden came up with that 4th and 2 play. Like, hey, we got it. We figured it out. This is what we're going to do. Thanks. We got it. And they did it. Collaborative approach to decision making. I never thought it was basic. The playbook itself is not basic. Okay? Because no, it's not. Just use your expertise. Because sometimes in life, people are so smart. They're like, no, that can't possibly work. Just do it. And if it doesn't, okay, not bad. So a lot of creativity there. And I would like to see way, 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 way more of it. So there's an answer to that. I see a comment here about more usage of the tight ends. We've been talking about that throughout the season. John Bates, Ben Sinnott do an amazing job of blocking. Zach Ertz continues to show up. Now, that might be some blunders with Zach Ertz. Like, remember there was a pick yesterday with between Jayden and Zach, and we were also kind of debating, like, was that play even for Zach? But guess what? They made up for it. And he was doing his thing. Zach Ertz with a big milestone yesterday as well. So, yes, you want to see them get more involved, and hopefully they, from an actual reception perspective, and hopefully they do. But for what they are being utilized for at the moment, they are doing a solid job of that. They are definitely participating at a great and high level in blocking, and all of these run plays that you all are seeing and are loving in the run game. A lot of that is happening because of the tight ends, and that's John Bates and Ben Sinnott. They will definitely smoke somebody if they have to. So yeah, I've said, yep, I've been talking about it, past it. Hey, we in the bonus area now. 8 wins. Oh, we're in the bonus. The rest of my coverage will be a joyous occasion. The rest of my coverage will be that of that. It will be that of holiday cheer, quite frankly. I'll be like, well, here we go. That of holiday cheer. It would not be down in the dumps at all. I'm going to find a silver lining to everything for the rest of the season. And so that is a good thing. You all better ask me another question before I roll out. Make sure you're following me. Make sure you're locked in to all the things. That game was a high note for the team to go out on. It certainly was. Lots of hugs, lots of high fives, lots of fist bumps, and they're gonna get back to work. Is what it is. You're seeing all of the key playmakers and the team overall get involved, be excited, be the voice of reason, be the motivator, be the example. And then you're seeing, like I mentioned earlier, Tyler Owens, who had been on the injury report, undrafted player, made the 53. He made a play on special teams. Straight up beast. Definitely in beast mode. So we'll go ahead and see what happens for the rest of the season. I don't know what you all are going to do for the bye. So everyone asks me, where are you going during the bye week? And I said, to sleep. I'm going to sleep. That's where I'm going, to sleep. So it's okay. Wherever everybody's traveling to, enjoy, have fun, be well. But I'll be working. But sleep at the same time. So you all enjoy your week 14. Definitely keep a watch on these teams now. The New Orleans Saints, the Atlanta Falcons, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys. Keep your eyes open and keep watching. Don't think it's all sweet because people's records not all that great. Keep watching them. Take a look at what they're doing to see what their assets are, because every team has assets, right? So see what they got good going on, so that you can already know how we're going to flow and what we're going to discuss when we get back from this bye, because it is definitely New Orleans, Atlanta, Philly, and then Dallas, which some people could say, oh, this is an easy stretch. It actually isn't. So we'll see what happens. You all listen, be blessed. Thank you so much for tuning in like you do all of the time. I so much appreciate it. Make sure you are sharing this channel, sharing this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. And I'll be talking to you all again soon.